members of the state, and nobody did a thing. This wasn't just failure, this was a strategy.
The police have identified in Operation Chalice between 250 to 300 suspects. Operation Chalice, they convicted 7.
They've announced a national inquiry, but we know they're not to be trusted.
Now, Telford had an inquiry. The government said it's a blueprint for the rest of the country. On the back of this inquiry, how many people lost their jobs? None. How many people actually held accountable? None.
And every single man and woman out there that has a preference for younger kids, the For the Children campaign are coming for you.
So, why are you here today, mate?
Well, I think it's really important to bring this whole issue, this national shame, this absolute disaster of what's happened to these young girls. It must be brought to the attention of the entire nation. The entire nation should rise up and be absolutely cast iron with the government. You must stop this. Now, I don't care what colour or creed or where the people involved come from, they must be stopped. They must be stopped immediately. To be honest, I don't want an investigation that's going to take 5 years or whatever. What I want is the fact that we've now acknowledged there's a problem. Let's get going on it now. We have the laws. Why can't we just go with it? We just seem to be going, whenever something comes up that's a bit difficult, might cause a few problems, ruffle a few feathers. And it's when they're trying to kick this stuff into the long grass, they'll claim they're not, but I don't see any immediate action going on. I don't see any arrests. I don't see anything going on. Then you have to wonder where the real problem lies, if you get my drift, where the real people involved are. And you're going to say to yourself, well, is it that it is far too difficult? And if that's the case, then we've got a real problem in this nation with the government.
I'm just here to protest the foreign cultural and religious influence which currently makes victim of most native British people.
Come here today for the children, unity for the children.
Yeah, uniting for the children, we're marching for them and how they've been let down by the system, by the police and by the justice system. So yeah, we're here for them and we're going to march today.
Just to support the cause, so important that we stand together and really sort of shout out for this absolute stain on our country.
Well, to show support for the cause against the grooming gangs, really, and it's kind of multifaceted. It's not just to protest against the grooming gangs. It's also to demonstrate this hasn't got anything to do with race. It's about everyone getting justice for committing heinous and disgusting crimes against people, really.
I'm from Watford, and basically I'm here to support the people of England against grooming gangs and young girls getting molested by paedophiles and people like that.
I'm here to support my 9 grandchildren and all the children out there that have got brutally raped and shipped all over the country.
Well, we're here because we're worried about the future of the children in Great Britain. We don't feel they're being protected enough from the grooming gangs and the knife crime, and nothing seems to be being done about the problem. People that abuse children are getting very light sentences, while people that are prepared to speak out against it are getting put away in jail for months and having their lives ruined.
I'm here because my daughter was attempted to be kidnapped by an Asian man in her school uniform on her way to school. Luckily, there was a female that stopped it in action. We reported it to the police, and to this day, we have not heard anything back from them. We've had other messages from other people that the same man done it to other females in the same area, and the police do nothing. They're protected, they're looked after, and our girls are not. That's why I'm here.
Well, obviously, we're here because of the grooming gangs, but more importantly now is the way the government has handled it. They didn't want a national inquiry, they wanted to cover it up, and they want to cover up, more importantly, the facilitators that led to these rapes. And not only the facilitators, but those in a position of power who turned a blind eye. All those people that knew about it. And this government have done exactly the same by first saying we're going to have a national inquiry, then changing their minds and knocking that on the head. And the only reason they're having a national inquiry now is because of all these good people that have turned up, all the pressure on social media that have applied pressure to the government. That is why we've got a national inquiry.
And how are you feeling about the numbers so far?
Looking good. Looking really good, mate. Yeah. It's nice to see such presence, especially in the capital, where you've got to make a stand. It's important. Really important.
Very strong, I think. Certainly we have the issue within the Conservative right that online activism doesn't traditionally convert to on the ground, like boots action. So certainly this is a good example where that is true. Yeah.
Do you know what, James? I don't even know how many here. I ain't even had a look. I've been too busy, but it looks good so far. It ain't about the numbers, it's about the message. Do you know what I mean?
So what's your name and why are you here today?
My name's Michael Holland and I'm here from South London. I'm a member of the National Education Union and Stand Up to Racism. And I'm here to say to the fascists, the Nazis and the far right that you're not welcome on our streets. The majority of people in this country are actually anti-racist. We welcome refugees and migrants, and we're telling the far right that these are our streets and not theirs.
I spoke in, was it March, and there was a few hundred people, but to see this today is just brilliant. I want to start as well. My wife, who's a survivor, said a long time, all these people that turn out for Brexit, COVID, free speech, where are they for the survivors? Well, here they are. So I've been working in Telford for a number of years now, supporting survivors, trying to get justice and campaigning. Now obviously Telford, along with Rochdale, Rotherham, it was highlighted. Yeah. Now in Telford, the police have identified in Operation Chalice between 250 to 300 suspects. Operation Chalice, they convicted 7. Altogether, they convicted 11. And yet they said this operation was a success. Now, that leaves what? So 250 plus suspects still walking the streets. Is that a success? On the back of that, before we were pushing for an inquiry in Telford for a number of years, and there was basically a letter that was sent to the Home Secretary stating that we don't need an inquiry in Telford. This was signed by Liberal Democrat councillors, Labour councillors, the Chief Crime Commissioner. Now, one of the people that signed this letter is a man called Sean Davis. Now, you'd think he'd lost his job. Would they sack him? Would they get rid of Sean Davis? He's now the MP for Telford. He also abstained from voting for a national inquiry. Can we get a big boo for Sean Davis, please? I really hope you heard that, Sean, because I don't think you'll be MP for Telford much longer. Now, Telford had an inquiry. The government said it's a blueprint for the rest of the country. On the back of this inquiry, how many people lost their jobs? None. How many people actually held accountable? None. So how's that a blueprint for the rest of the country? So I want to lead on to the national inquiry, which, by the way, when we heard Yvette Cooper speaking about the national inquiry in Parliament, we can't deny it was amazing to hear all the things that we've been pushing for years being spoken about in there. It was vindication for people like me, but more importantly, it was vindication for survivors. Because it was only a few months earlier in January where Keir Starmer basically said that they were far right for calling for a national inquiry. Shall we get a boo for Keir Starmer while we're here?
So now that Keir Starmer has announced a national inquiry, does that make you hopeful, or do you think more things will be swept under the carpet?
Personally, I think more things will be swept under the carpet. It all depends on the exact terms of reference of the inquiry itself. Also, in the background, there's this Islamophobia blasphemy law coming in. It's going to come in. We want to stop it, but it will make criticism of a certain religion impossible, and because of that, it will make criticism of grooming gangs impossible. Because as soon as you come in and say, well, oh no, that's Islamophobic, you can't do that, and that's where I fear we're going. And Angela Rayner seems to want to push this agenda. She's put out the consultation to special groups, and those special groups are going to give her the answer she wants to hear. So Nick Timothy, MP, he has put out an item for everyone to sign and send in their own ideas about this, and I think we all should send in a response to this consultation. Don't let them hide it. This isn't a planning consultation, where they built a building. This is about the future of our kids in the UK. This is fundamentally important.
And what do you think it says about the government that, like you said, we have people like Lucy Connolly in prison for a tweet being treated horribly, and it's taken so long for the grooming gang scandal to come to light? What do you think that says about our government?
What that says to me about the government is they don't care about their own people, which should be their priority above all else. They should be looking after the British people.
Yeah, I feel like they've had to do this now because of how much public pressure there's been on. People like me, people like Liam, people like everyone who's turned up today have put so much pressure on these people that they feel like they have to do it now. They didn't want to do it at first. They didn't want to do it. They said no. All of them voted no. But now they have to do it because so many people are standing up and saying, look, this is a disgrace to our nation. And we're out here in our numbers today. And this will not stop. Keep the pressure up because they have to do this inquiry now. Although I don't think they're going to do it properly. I really don't think they're going to do it properly. So it takes all of us to keep that pressure going to make sure that they do not get found out for lying.
As you know, I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen the ICSA inquiry. I've seen the review into Operation Span, into Operation Augusta, and highlighted all the failures already in grooming scandals. In the No View scandal of Rochdale, where Cyril Smith were abusing young boys. Not one person has been held to account for these three reviews and one inquiry that's already been done. So I hold no hope that this will do the same. I believe we need to push and make sure that accountability follows this inquiry. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Look, they've announced a national inquiry, but we know they're not to be trusted. So this is why it's important that so many people show up today for the fact of we can't let them cover this up anymore. Everyone must unite and show our strength and unity that we're not going to let it go. We want the truth. We want answers. So I don't believe, I think they're going to brush it under the carpet even more, but it's events like this that's going to push the truth out.
Yeah. There'll be another whitewash, so please, Rupert Lowe is going to keep an eye on it with his own inquiry.
Are you excited about the rape gang inquiry from Rupert Lowe? Does that make you more excited than the national one?
I think it does in a way, yes. It holds a whole new dynamic on it. We've got important people on there, sort of Maggie Oliver, Raja Mia, important people that, know exactly what's going on.
Let me make this clear. Our children weren't just failed. They were fed to the wolves and the government held the lead. Don't you dare let them say this is neglect. Because neglect is forgetting a birthday. Neglect is about missing a parents' evening. This is none of them, because this was grooming. This was rape. This was the political protection of paedophile networks, and only now they were forced to admit it. Because Baroness Louise Casey, she's not one of us, she's one of the Labour's own. She exposed the truth of what we have been saying for decades upon decades. That police officers have ignored the victims. Survivors were labelled as liars and slags. Gangs ran wild under the nose of the state and nobody did a thing. This wasn't just failure, this was a strategy. A strategy to keep the Muslim vote happy. A strategy to appease community leaders. a strategy to silence the working class while our daughters were dragged into hell.
Make some noise if you're a survivor. Yes, make some noise if you know a survivor. I'm a survivor, and I'm an ambassador for the Enough to End Rape social deterrent campaign. My perpetrator is a 3-time convicted child sex offender, and he's back in the community for a 3rd time. He has an offending history spanning 5 decades, starting in 1983, where he pleaded guilty in a court of law and walked free. He is an associate of Jimmy Savile, and he's back in the community after a 3rd conviction. I am angry. Who is angry here?
And why do you think it's important to come out and support victims of child sexual abuse?
I've got it. I feel like it's been, well, we know it's heavily been covered up and the children have not been able to have a voice. So we've come out today to give them children a voice, you know, and get behind them. They've been let down by the system and it's upsetting. The most horrific things have happened to these children, little innocent children. And the police have covered it up, the government have covered it up, and we're here today to make sure it's out in the public domain and everyone knows about it.
Obviously, 20 years of covering it up, 20, 30 years. Look at how many people are here. We've got so many people here uniting for the children. It's important because let's not forget that it's not just the Labour, it's previous governments, most politicians in Parliament right now, including Nigel Farage and others, that have covered it up, the police, social services. So it's important that everybody on the right, on the left, no matter what your views are, you come together to unite for the children and show our unity and strength.
So do you think that this was a deliberate cover-up by local authorities and the government?
I know it was a deliberate cover-up by the local authorities, the government, the police, and virtually everybody who's tried to keep it quiet. This is why they didn't want the national inquiry.
Thank you all for being here today, standing with us and lending your voice, a cause that is too often silenced. My name is Kira and I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, but I'm more than just a survivor. I'm a person who's finding my strength, my voice and my path to healing. At 16 years old, I just finished school and was groomed by my local shopkeeper who was 55, Harvey Shankar. With the support of and encouragement of my friends and family, I pressed charges and went to court. This was a long and hard journey that went on for 5 years. Adjourned twice, I gave up so many times, and we finally made it to court in 2023 for the trial. Me and my friends were cross-examined for a whole day and made to feel like we were the criminals, only for Harry Shankar to accept a lesser charge of paying for sexual activities from a 16-year-old. Instead of taking the stand, he took the easier way out. His original charges were 2 sexual assaults and 2 sexual penetrations, and then he accepted the plea for sexual acts of a 16-year-old. I was completely destroyed all over again and made to feel like I consented and was accepting the payment for this. So far from the truth. Harry Shankar was also subject to immigration and did not have the right to remain in the UK. He should have been granted this, but after he pleaded guilty to the lesser charge, he was also granted the right to remain in the country, a failing from our Home Service and immigration. I'm still fighting this today after finding information that he is still committing offences and breaching his sexual harm prevention order. I reached out to Gurmit Singh, and from this came my documentary, Kira's Justice. If you haven't seen it, please watch and you'll hear all about my story. I'm on YouTube, X and Twitter. This is something that I'm still living every day. My perpetrator is back in court next week for breaching his order, and let's just hope justice is finally done. I'm here because this can happen to anybody. It's not about what you look like or how you act. These people prey on the vulnerable, and I'm lucky to have the support to fight this because many other people haven't. For many years I felt the weight of silence, carried the shame, the fear, the doubt and all the confusion. It isn't easy, but I've learned something important. Nobody should have to carry the burden of abuse alone. No one should have to be made to feel ashamed of something that wasn't done to them. This is why I'm standing here today and why I've created Kira's Voice for Change, number 4, just to let you know. Because I don't want survivors to know that they're not alone and their voice does matter. I want to say this clearly, there is no shame in speaking out, there is no shame in telling the truth, and no shame in seeking help.
While Islamic grooming is obviously a massive problem in the UK, people like my girlfriend who were sexually abused, she was sexually abused by her half-brother. And she's concerned that while everyone is talking about Islamic grooming, everything else is just kind of is not being talked about, right? So what can you say in terms of other forms of abuse that are currently going on in this country, unchecked and not being talked about?
Well, that's the whole point. It's why I said right at the beginning, I don't care what colour, creed, race, religion, or how wealthy or high up the power chain you are, you should be held accountable. And the police should not be afeard of going in there. And if it means walking into Westminster and grabbing hold of a couple, I've got no problem with that at all, and nor has anyone else in this country. So I want to see less control by government over the police. I mean, you only have to look at the far-right riots to see that there was control over the judiciary by the government, and we should not have any of that. The police must be independent. Courts must be independent, and if there's a sniff that they aren't, they should be out. There must be a way of accountability of getting these people out. They need to be acting independently, and we need really good people in there. We don't want... We don't want diversity to get in the way of good coppering, good service people, good civil service, but we do seem to have that at the moment, and it's just ruining this whole country.
As a leader of Parents Against Grooming, can you tell me what's new with you? What's going on in Rochdale?
Well, following the Baroness Casey report, a lot more's come to light. We knew lots that had gone on, the failures, but what we've noticed now is, like, for example, there's been 35 grooming gangs investigated in Greater Manchester in the last 3 years. They said it had not. These are all historic cases. Seems not so. Operation Lytton has, at this moment in time, 50 people on bail in Rochdale alone for grooming children. So this is an ongoing problem, and this isn't a fix. This National Independent Inquiry, it's not a fix. We have to make sure that they ram it home and that it gets accountability for what's gone on in Rochdale.